Hello, Shatling. I think that in recent times, those who are interested in dating men have had their bar set in hell. The bar is on the floor. Our standards are not high enough. I feel like people have been overlooking the most glaring and concerning red flags, and I don't mean that in a shallow sense. I don't mean, oh, he tripped on his shoelace. What a red flag. Let's break up. Oh, he's not making 7 figures a year. What a red flag. No. I'm talking like basic shit. Like respect and feeling safe and loved. Like the absolute bare minimum is still not being met by some of these men. Now today, I found a text interaction on the land of wonder and whimsy, also known as Reddit, that I would really like to show you because it's fascinating. I went into it thinking like, oh, okay, not terrible. I've seen worse. And goodness gracious, the more that I read, the worse it got. Some men just have such audacity. It's insane. Notice how I said some? Some men need to be born asexual and earn their way to allosexuality. That is my hot take. Let's take a look. Take a seat around the fire, get nice and cozy, because there's quite a bit of yap in this, and I'm gonna read it to you. It starts off with our protagonist, the man, saying, "I'm alive." He gets a thumbs up. "How are you feeling?" She says, "I feel fine." He says, "Good. Does Big D miss me yet?" And then he reiterates, he double texts, "Do you miss me yet?" She says, "Nope." Which is like, alright, so something's wrong. And you may think, whoa, that's a little cold. That's a little bit harsh, a little bit brazen. Is she really justified in treating him that way? Yes. I'll just spoil it right now. Yes, she is. Yes. But let's continue reading. I forgot to scroll. Oopsies. He says, "Did I do something wrong?" And she says, "I think that we have 2 very different and clashing communication styles. You've gotten mad at me so many times, and that's one thing, but I never feel like we're allowed to have a discussion about it. I don't operate that way, and I'm not interested in building a relationship based on such a tumultuous dynamic, like ours seem to be when we can't communicate effectively or in a healthy manner. I'm not putting that on you solely. I think this is an issue between us. This has become a pattern, and I'm not comfortable with it. It greatly overshadows the fun and good conversation that we have, and how much I enjoy your company, and I was really hoping that it wouldn't, but it definitely does." So, she is being very mature and respectful about this. When I was reading this, I was thinking, damn, I don't even think I could achieve such levels of emotional maturity. Look at how well she's handling that. Obviously, she has a problem with this guy, but she's not just saying, "Fuck you, you're terrible, let's break up. I don't want to see you ever again, get out of my life." She's being very respectful about it, very mindful, saying, it's not just you, it's a compatibility issue, our communication styles are vastly different, it's both of us. Very respectful, not just dumping all of the blame and criticism on him. Now let's observe his response. "I can only speak from my own experience with you, but sometimes it feels like you focus so much on what's wrong that it's hard to appreciate what's right. I understand that you have high standards, but when every situation or every person is picked apart, it can seem like nothing is ever good enough." Now, I'm biased. I'm very quick to not trust the ramblings of a self-proclaimed nice guy, but at first blush, this seems reasonable. It almost seems like he's putting together a cohesive statement that checks out logically speaking. Like, hyperanalyzing the other person and trying to look for faults, like actively trying to seek out things to get upset about, isn't good. You may think, alright, like maybe just maybe he's putting together a justified statement, but simultaneously, he's not really addressing any of her concerns. He's kind of wiping his ass with it, instead of saying like, okay, I understand, maybe we're not compatible, I hope you have a good life. Or if he wants to cling onto her ankle and somehow try and make this work, he could still actually validate what she said and say, interesting, okay, could you describe to me when I make you feel invalidated? Can I understand what I'm doing wrong? Because I want to try and rectify it, because I truly care about you. So if there's some sort of communication imbalance, I want to do my part. I want to work harder so that I can make you feel seen and understood. That's what I would think would be the play. I think that would be the optimal play from John Madden's handbook, but alas, he just invalidated everything she said and then started accusing her of being the problem, saying that she's too nitpicky. The truth is, none of us are perfect. We all have flaws and we all make mistakes. I just hope you can offer other people the same grace and understanding that we'd all want for ourselves. Sometimes it's worth taking a step back and asking whether the problem is always everyone else or if there might be something to reflect on within ourselves too. Now, again, yes, it's good to look at yourself and focus on self-improvement and not just hyperanalyzing other people and always thinking that they're the problem, not me. But that's not the case here. Believe me, that is not the case. It almost looks like he's putting together a cohesive argument, but 1, not the case, he's a douchebag, you'll see, and 2, he's still just invalidating everything she said. This is never going to be productive. She expressed a worry, she said, hey, I don't think we're very compatible, and he's just proving her right. He is doing the exact thing that she was complaining about, that she was raising a concern about. But you've just had you mind up, it feels. Just like the last and the last. Nobody is going to fit in that perfect corner you thieve for, and it's always going to be someone else's fault. To all the people out there, don't let a man lower your standards, alright? Work on yourself, work on being a better person, and be reasonable. But don't let a man lower your standards. If he's talking to you like, I feel like your standards are just too high, raise an eyebrow. Raise an eyebrow. Reflect on it. Is he worth your time? I want you to ask yourself that question. Is he worth your time? Just make damn sure that he's worth your time. Moving on. You caught a different fish here. With loose line and looking for maybe a bass? Did he mean to say bass with 2 S's? You have 2 swordfish. It's a different experience. I don't know what he's LARPing about here. I don't know why he brought the fishing nomenclature out. I think he's alluding to the metaphor where it's like there's a lot of fish in the sea, and then he's saying that she's looking for a bass, but he's a swordfish. That doesn't excuse being a douchebag. That's like saying, I know you wanted to catch a fish, and you caught a mildewy, sopping wet old boot, but hey, you're just being too picky. You're just being too picky. This man, in that metaphor, would not even be a fish. He would probably be a piece of scrap, maybe some trash that's been sitting in the lake for years and years, just building up grime and filth. This isn't even a contender in the ocean, in the sea of fish. If you're going to love and leave, then that's fine, but you're never going to be happy with any man. That's always an indicator of a happy and healthy and sane individual. When they tell you that you're never going to be happy with anything else, that's always an indicator that they are very good for you and that you should trust their judgment and stay with them in a relationship. And for those who have trouble with sarcasm, that was in fact sarcasm. This is never a good move. You know what? I was thinking that I wanted to break up with you, but after you said that I would never be happy with anyone else, and you are actually really, really good for me, and I got an S-tier man, and I got lucky to even meet you, now I want to stay with you. Now that I think that I'll never get anyone better than you because you told me so, now I want to stay with you. Okay. She says, goofball, I'm always willing to examine my own part in relationships. And you're right. I overanalyze and have to keep my own expectations in check. I'm sure there are some things I can improve upon. Now I'm going to pause you right here because this reminds me of myself. I struggle with being very, not controlling, but kind of like a mother in relationships. Like, I'm looking at the other person, I'm thinking, are they good enough? Are they on top of things? Are they responsible? Are they, self-disciplined? All these things. They need to be perfect. And I struggle to just, focus on myself and realize if this person is making me happy and they meet my standards and they treat me with respect, I don't have to backseat all of their decisions in life. I don't have to control them like a puppet to make sure that they're doing everything correctly, meeting all my standards. I, too, actually struggle with having really high standards. Now, do I think they should be lowered, per se? No. No, like, I want to work really hard to be a better person, and I want somebody who also works really hard to be a better person, like my boyfriend Dev. But I do think there is some merit to focusing on yourself and not letting that inner demon that just wants to control and influence and try and, like, backseat the behaviors of one's partner. I do think that that is not a positive thing. There's a time and a place for conversations. There's a time and a place for influence. Maybe like, hey, do you want to go to the gym with me? Like, I feel like that would be fun. No pressure, but like, if you want to, I think it'd be a good opportunity for us to have fun together, for us to get stronger. There are ways that you can go about this that aren't just being an annoying douchebag, which I struggle with. So this really is close to my heart. It really hits close to home. I can empathize with what she is expressing, and the way that she goes about it is so mature. I am literally in admiration of how she handles this. She says, yeah, you're right. Sometimes I am too demanding, or whatever wording she used. I don't think that at all. I don't think I'm perfect. Sure, there are things I can improve on. Like, period. But my concerns weren't about you being imperfect. They were about repeated moments where I felt my boundaries and my perspective weren't respected. I felt that I approached the times you got angry with curiosity and asked you to help me understand why you're upset and try to have a discussion about it. But I don't feel that balance offered back to me when I address something. That is so mature and lovely. Like, goodness gracious, this woman is a role model. There was a problem, he got upset, he got angry, and she approached it with curiosity and the absolute grace and patience of this angel, because once you understand what he did, your view on this whole situation is going to change. I was reading this whole thing like, okay, yeah, he seems like a douchebag, but at the end of the day, like, what did he really do? Maybe they just had a couple arguments. No, he's fucking weird. He's fucking weird. She has every right to be upset. This exact conversation is a perfect example. Now, when I bring up concerns about our communication, I felt like you responded by evaluating my character instead of addressing the specific behaviors I was talking about. When I mentioned condoms the first 2 times we had sex, I genuinely didn't think I'd have to ask you for the 3rd time. When I realized you weren't wearing one, it bothered me. Alright, if you're anything like me, this section hit you like a truck. What the fuck do you mean? I genuinely didn't think I'd have to ask you for the 3rd time. Why is this man not wanting to wear a condom when you've made it clear that you want to wear a condom? Now, I think it's about time that I give you the lore, the background, the exposition, one could say. Before their first date, and I'm not making eye contact with you because I'm reading it off the Reddit post. Before their first date, she told him that she did not want to have sex on the first date. Perfectly reasonable request. Perfectly reasonable. Okay? I personally very much agree with this mentality 1,000,000,000%. This creature, this homunculus, got upset and repeatedly told her that if she really liked him, she would show him that she's sexually attracted to him. Okay, like, for me, he would have been gone. He would have been gone. The instant that that monstrosity escaped his vocal cords, he would have been fucking gone. Because what do you mean he was trying to manipulate her into engaging in coitus on the first date when she had the simple request and boundary of simply not engaging in such an activity on the very first date? I think this creature, this boy, is a fucking animal. I think he's extremely immature. This is just repulsive. And after learning this, everything started to make sense. I started to view it with a different lens. I didn't know that we were dealing with such an interesting specimen. She said, the thing is, I actually really liked him. I'm sorry for your loss. To this woman, I'm sorry you had to go through that. I actually really liked him and did want to engage in coitus. She just wanted to wait a bit. For context, when he felt rejected, he would react argumentatively on a bit of a regular basis. And they ultimately did engage in coitus that night. So he literally got his way, which I think is disgusting. I think she proposed a very reasonable, normal, respectable boundary of, hey, on our very first date, I don't want to be slamming him. I do not want you entering me upon our first date. That is such a simple request. And the fact that this creature took a problem with it, got upset at her, tried to manipulate her, and actually succeeded by saying, if you really liked me, then you would want to do it. If you were really attracted to me, then you would do it for me. Would you? For me? It's just disgusting. To me, I think that's just manipulation, and I think it is repulsive behavior. So, there's the background. He just basically manipulated, influenced her into going against her boundary of not wanting to engage in intercourse on the first date, which really sets the tone here. It really gives you some background, some understanding. Now when I'm reading through all those messages, it's like, oh, she's right. Because he's a weird fucking douchebag. And he couldn't handle a boundary as simple as not wanting such a physical interaction on the first date. So, back to the texts. She was talking about the condoms and how he was not respecting her wishes to have them on at all times when engaging in certain activities. She says, when I realized you weren't wearing one, it bothered me. So this creature engaged in such activities without one? When she had made it clear that she wanted one to be present and worn at all times? To me, hey, I don't know if I'm just biased or my opinions are a little bit too strong, but to me, that is incredibly fucked up. Insanely fucked up. I do not have to explain to you the risks of engaging in such behavior unprotected. It's selfish of him, it's careless, it's lazy, it's disrespectful, it's disgusting. She says, but after thinking about it more today, I felt like you just decided on your own that a condom wasn't needed. That wasn't something for you to decide differently on my behalf. It makes me uncomfortable, which is completely reasonable. I think the person that would be subjected to an unwanted pregnancy has a huge say in whether or not the condom should be on. A huge say. I think she has every right to feel very strongly about that, especially after she communicated that she wanted it to be on. He says, well, it looks like you're gonna keep on doing you, and I'm gonna keep on doing me. And I'm gonna keep on raw-dogging women that do not want it, because I can't respect boundaries. She says, I genuinely wish you well, but yeah, I'm gonna step away from this. She's just so respectful here. She's an absolute saint, an angel. He says, I feel like that's a fair deal. I wish you the best as well. But you truly are a succubus. Alright, bro, we could have just ended it there. We could have just put the phone down and never spoken to her ever again. We were so close. We were so close to success. I feel like this is such a common pattern where these nice guys are so close. They could just turn off the phone, block her, forget about it. But they have to send that final text just to get their anger out and let their immaturity show. Let it play around in the pig pen a little bit. You truly are a succubus for wanting me to wear a condom and then kind of taking an issue when I blatantly disrespect your boundaries and invalidate them. You succubus, you harpy. She says, wow, that's fucking low, goofball. I'm not calling you names. I'm not trying to blame you. I'm not pointing out your faults, flaws, and your insecurities, even though you high-key would be justified to do so. Bro, nobody would be judging you if you started doing that. Well, okay, I can't speak for everyone, but hey, if you started pointing out his faults, flaws, insecurities, attacking his character, I'm just saying I wouldn't be taking a problem with that. I'm just saying I might just avert my eyes, alright? I might just let it slide just this once. She is being very, admirably nice about this. I genuinely respect the behavior that she is displaying here. After he treats her so disrespectfully and then goes on to call her a succubus, after she's been nothing but respectful, she is still continuing to be an absolute saint. I'm not attacking your character. You've met every attempt of mine to have a civil discussion when things get tense with animosity, which is extremely true. That's something that we can see even in this little snapshot of their relationship. This simple post containing a singular text interaction portrays that concept perfectly. Example A. With your track record, he says, with your track record and everything else, you'll have to decide whether you're a succubus. Alright, thanks, bro. I guess I'll get to deciding then. Why are you still talking to her? Like I said before, you're gonna end up in your own grave. Why did he say that before? When did that come up in conversation before? I'm a bit confused. No one's gonna be good enough for you. Once again. Hey, if you're looking to be charismatic, to get people's romantic interest, this guy knows what's up. This guy has the Krabby Patty formula. What you should do is tell them that nobody's ever going to be good enough for them and that they're the problem for having standards that are too high. That is going to attract all the babes. Trust me. She says, it's really unfortunate that you couldn't meet me halfway here for a polite goodbye. Which is completely fair. Bro. She's been so nice. So nice. The least he could do is just end it at that, whatever, have a nice life, and put the phone down. He says, I left with everything on the board. I left and asked you if everything was okay. It's on you afterward. You can't just be the victim every time. What? Yeah, what an attention seeker, bro. Why is she calling herself the victim? All you did was just disrespect her boundaries, wipe your ass with them. So, like, why is she pretending to be the victim? That's so irritating. What an attention seeker. You're either the victim or the aggressive of what's going on. In these terms and what happened with us, you're the fucking aggressive. What? Why are we using aggressive as a noun? Hey, like, once again, we don't know what their interactions looked like, but just judging by these texts, I don't think that she was the aggressive, as he would say. I have an inkling of a suspicion that she was not the aggressive. I mean, she endured such a blatantly disrespectful and disgusting violation of her boundaries, and she was still treating this guy with such patience. So I don't know. It's just a theory, but I feel like she's not the aggressive. On top of that, he says, I'm not gonna fucking apologize because everything I did was shoot, and everything I did was good. What does that mean? His typing abilities are deteriorating. He's so heartbroken by this breakup. So if you want to make it like that, then fuck you for your thoughts and your reasons. Yeah, fuck you for having boundaries. Fuck you for wanting me to wear a condom. Ugh, you're so selfish. I'm not the bad guy in this, you are. That's very mature, very mature. Hey, all I wanted was to raw dog you without your knowledge or consent. And you didn't even want that. You're the bad guy. You're the bad guy for not letting me raw dog. You're going to find someone has something wrong at every time, and I feel so fucking sorry for you. What a saint. What a saint. I really do, because you'll never be happy. Wow. He's such a nice guy. He's really looking out for her. I mean, sure, he's kind of raining on her mood at the moment by calling her a harpy and a fucking aggressive, whatever that means, and the bad guy. But he's really an excellent guy. And she's never gonna find anyone that's better than him. I wish you the best. Yeah, fuck you, Harpy. You're terrible. You're never gonna find anyone that's good enough. But I wish you the best. And then he sends a song? I don't even know. I don't know what that means. Newfound glory, my friends over you. I really don't know what that means. This guy is 44, by the way. Just for context, this guy's 44, and she is 36. So, at his big age, he's acting like this. He had 44 years to develop the emotional maturity to handle the situation like an adult, and yet, we still end up with bangers like, I'm not the bad guy in this, you are. And calling her a harpy for having basic boundaries. And sending a music video after insulting her and after the relationship is pretty much over. Okay. I always told you I'm different. Maybe I'm just not your different. So true. So profound. She's just not ready for such an S tier, man. This is her problem. She couldn't see the golden opportunity within her fingertips. This absolute catch of a man. She just wasn't ready for it. Her standards were too high. This actually had me giggling, and it's a perfect example of an occurrence that I find to be rather prevalent from what I've seen in life. This is not specific to men as much as I like joking about it. I think that a lot of people struggle with having standards that are way too low just because they think that they're not deserving of anything more, which is so untrue. It is better to be single yet happy and engage in self-love and self-care and work on your own self-esteem and build up that self-esteem that allows you to have boundaries and to have higher standards. It is much better to be alone and happy than to be miserable in a relationship. And I think that not enough people know that. I think that not enough people value themselves as human beings and recognize their own skills, their own favorable traits, how wonderful they are, the treatment that they actually deserve. I think the standards are just too low as a whole, and this was a nice portrayal of that. Thank you for joining me, Twin. Make sure to be kind to yourself and take care of yourself, and follow my Twitch. Okay? Okay. Bye, Twin! Mwah!